That's why she had to we had to do a whole room switch and all this. She was being really weird about it.
What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Michael Morris, aka Slim, but we will call him Michael Morris because I remember last time he asked me if I knew his name, so I remembered it, Michael. I remembered it this time. How you doing, Michael?
I'm good, Rob. I'm good. You can call me Slim. Everybody calls me Slim these days. It's trust me, I'll respond a lot quicker to Slim than Michael.
Yeah, I remember the last time we had it, and I said, you know what? He is right. You know, I knew his name, but I always called him Slim because, you know, that's all I would hear all the time. So I said, but I'm going to be different. I'm going to call him Michael first, and then, you know, we can go with Slim if he wants to, you know. So Slim, I'm very, very happy to have you again. Slim was a guest of mine in a previous podcast, but now we have him here on the Rob on the Run, and you know a lot has happened between now and then, right, Michael?
Yeah, a lot has, man. It's been a couple of years since we popped on and done this, but I'm excited to be back. Excited to talk to you some more.
Nice. Yeah, man, and it's been a journey here at Rob on the Run. I first did not feel very comfortable doing it on my own, but you know the more I've been doing it, the better it's been getting. Sometimes I still kind of stop myself and think what I'm gonna say. Oh, wait, what's going on?
I don't know.
Who is this?
Did you invite? Oh my God. That's why she had to we had to do a whole room switch and all this. She was being really weird about it.
Okay, so you had an idea something was happening?
I had no idea this was happening. She's like, oh, I gotta do some more work, so I gotta get my laptop.
Well, yes, I contacted Carly. This is Carly, everybody. She's Michael's
She's my wife.
The wife.
Hi.
Yes. And I had contacted Carly with an idea, and I said, "What do you think if this time when I have Slim again, why don't you pop up and you know be the guest host?" So she's a host. She's not a guest. So you better be ready, Michael. You better be ready because we're going TMZ on you for sure.
She's got all the good dirt. I know that
much. This is true.
Well, Carly, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Doing good. But yeah, we barely started, so let's get you started with the first question here, Slim. Let me see. Man, where's my questions? Okay, there we go. How did your journey start with running?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I probably have the most stereotypical entry into running as everybody else has just about it. I had an older brother and sister that ran. They're a couple of 4 or 5 years older than me. So it was literally I had to go to school, so I had to go to practice with them. And so just kind of being the younger brother of Chris and Krista just meant that he's going to show up and I might as well practice and run with him in the mornings.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all started. And I was just, in a small town in Wills Point, and, everybody knew that hey, it's the Morrises. That's the family that goes and runs. That's what they do. And so that's how it all started for me, really.
So technically you weren't like a runner by heart. You kind of just got inherited.
Oh. God, no. I tell everybody this I swear I thought I was a football player or a basketball player or soccer. I thought I was every other sport.
Yeah, except for running.
Except for running, and I was not very good at it. And I got very lucky to have an amazing middle school and high school coach that just believed in me and was such an important part of my life and still is an important part of my life today. That just kept me going and never gave up on me and never let me let myself give up on myself. And that was such a key thing for me.
That's awesome. And it's crazy that you say that because most of my guests, most of them say the same. They're they're not runners. They never been runners. They never even liked running, but they had somebody that got them into, in your case, your brothers. But then from there, they kind of had somebody that kind of helped them out, molded them to see that running could be a good place to go. I was not lucky like that. I sucked at running. I sucked at baseball. I sucked at every single sport. And then I turned 36. I met Alma, and I got into running. So I'm a little different than everyone, I guess. But it's crazy to hear that. It's crazy knowing now your background, how you're an elite runner and everything. Like, it's crazy to think that if it wasn't for your brothers, you probably wouldn't be running right now, at the level.
No, yeah, I constantly chased my brother and my sister's shadows growing up. It was always like, how can I get to their level? How can I get, one step better than them?
Yeah.
And that was like, I still remember to the day when my older brother, we always had the rivalry against each other and everything like that. And I'm going to say it, I was way better than him long before he said this. But I remember the day my brother told me, he goes, okay, I guess you're faster than me now. And that was like, in my world, like,
Yeah.
earth shattering, the first time my brother had ever said, like, you're better than me at anything in life.
Yeah.
But running was just a special connection for us.
I think it's worth pointing out too that his brother Chris is just as competitive as Slim is. And so there's a lot of sibling rivalry going on here. So for his brother to admit that is huge. And that rivalry still exists today.
All the time. Every time we're 35, 40 years old now, and every time we're back around each other, it's like we're 10 and 12 years old again. He still tries to beat up on me. It's nonstop every time. Carly sees it.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. But it must feel very nice to hear that, from your brother. Go ahead.
One of those moments of validation, just one of those moments of just like this. That meant the world to me to hear that from him.
Yeah, no, for sure. But Slim, when was the breakthrough moment where you saw yourself as like better than the bunch, when you were learning your ability, and you mentioned your coach, but when was that breakthrough moment when you realized, hey, there's something to this running that I'm actually pretty good?
Yeah, it happened my sophomore year of high school, and it's happened multiple times throughout my running career, my running journey. There's just constant times where I've been like, I deserve to be here. I've put in the work. I've done everything. But the first time was definitely my sophomore year in high school. I remember being up in the Dallas area, we would go to regional cross country. My freshman year, I got to go with the varsity team to the regional cross country meet because a couple of the guys couldn't make it to the meet. And so my high school coach, Coach Riddle, was like, well, you're the next guy up, which was literally me being the last guy on the team, but we only had like 8 or 9 guys total.
Yeah.
So she just took me and was like, well, my sister was a senior, you'll get to be there when she runs, it'll be a good thing for you. I went and I placed second or third to last.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I beat a few people. I was, a freshman, always ran JV. But then my sophomore year, going through the summer, I started training. I started working harder. Had Coach Riddle who just believed in me.
Yeah.
My sophomore year, we went back to regionals. At this time, I was one of the varsity guys on the team and was starting to run pretty well. I moved all the way up and I placed 12th.
Nice.
I went from 100. I remember this. I went from 122nd overall to 12th overall, and just missing making it to state, literally being seconds away. And that was the first time where I said, okay, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm here with these guys and I can compete with them, but I gotta keep it was enough to fuel me and get that drive going, and enough to say I want more than this. And that was the first time I ever felt that, where I was like, I can do this if I just keep going, if I just keep pushing it.
And you mentioned that there were several times. When was the next time that you also felt, that breakthrough, that you, like you said, you're meant to be here, you deserve to be here? When was that?
Oh man, that happened in college. We finished up high school and was kind of a little bit of a hot shot. I went through and I'm so good. And I really was not that good. So I went to college and I was, at top of the totem pole, and starting college, I went straight back down to the bottom.
Okay.
And so I had I basically had to kind of go through that freshman year, stumble and figure it out all over again. And sophomore year, got a little better in college. And then junior year, it all kind of started to click in place. And I started running some faster times and started placing higher in races. But I also had a few teammates that were like, hey man, you're our guy. We're going to follow you. We're going to be there with you.
Yeah.
You just keep going. And that was that next moment of reassurance, is having those guys kind of tell me we believe in you and you got this and we're going to follow you. And were handing the team over. That was huge.
Nice. Yeah,
And so
that
it's
means a
been
lot.
moments
Yeah.
like that where it just like having people believe in me at moments that I needed it.
That's awesome, man. And just to clarify, when you went to college, you were doing track or cross country, both, or you were more like zoned in one?
No, so for the most part, if you're going to college anywhere, I went to Texas State, and you're down in San Marcos, go Bobcats. But if you go to college to run cross country, you're going to run track. It's essentially the same sport. They're two different sports, but you're on both.
Yeah.
And so I was running cross country and track, and that was
And when, given that you did more like track and cross country, but more track in college, where did the marathon or the longer distances come in to place for you?
It was really just kind of after college, and I took a couple of years off of college after college where I wasn't really running a whole lot. Like I would still go on runs, and I was coaching at the high school team, and so I'd run there, but I wasn't really doing a whole lot there. And there's, in Texas at least, there's not a lot of options for road races or track races for people that aren't in school in some way. But I got into Austin. I was working at Fleet Feet, and I started getting into the running community again. And it was just like, kind of like, well, I mean, what else is there to do but to run a half marathon and then run a marathon? So I just started doing that, and that just kind of naturally felt what was like the best thing to do at the time.
That's awesome. And we're going back and forth here. Sorry. College, what were your accolades, or how did you end up finishing your career in the collegiate level?
Competing at Tech State was like a kind of a mid-major D1 school. We were part of the Southland Conference. So I ended up finishing out with like all conference honors, which in cross country means I placed in the top 10 at the conference meet.
Nice.
And all conference honors in track. One thing I'm very proud of is I set and still hold the school record in the 3,000 meter steeplechase for Texas State.
Nice.
That was a big event for me that I just like was really proud of, and something I really chased really hard. I was a regional competitor, things like that. I never made it to like the NCAA like championship level. I would say I had a strong and a time that I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
I think I left a little bit on the table, but I wouldn't change any of my college experiences for anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the fact that you hit what you wanted, right? Like you said, and your name is still out there in the record books and whatnot. So that's pretty cool that you can do that. But let's veer off a little bit on this stuff. And I wanted to talk about both of y'all, especially. How did y'all meet? I don't know if I've ever, even in person, if y'all have ever told me, but how did both of y'all crazy people meet?
This is Carly's favorite story. I'll let her.
Okay.
Yeah, so technically we met at Fleet Feet. So like Slim mentioned, when the store opened up a few years back, he was one of kind of the first guys that came in. That's how he kind of got back into the running scene. I was actually dating somebody else at the time, and so I guess maybe we had a conversation. I don't really remember this. And I straight up told him, hey, I have a boyfriend, and just like shut anything down. And so he's like, all right, like done, backing away, whatever. A few months later, though, I was single. I had kind of seen him around. We ended up crossing paths at an after party for the running event. And so I was trying to chat with him. He was technically, trying to like help host the party, running around. So, like he would chat for a little bit and then like disappear. And they would come back and we would chat a little bit more. And I kept trying to like drop the hint of like, oh, I'm single. I'm kind of into you.
I did not get this at all.
He did not get this at all.
Wow.
So I walked away thinking, okay, he's not into me. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
A few weeks later, we actually ended up matching on Bumble.
Yeah, that was a big win.
Yeah.
Modern romance at its finest, y'all.
Oh yeah.
Very much so. But what's funny is, so we exchanged phone numbers. We chatted for a little bit. I had actually signed up for the Austin Distance Challenge. And for anyone that's not familiar with this, it's a series of, I think, like 5 or 6 races now, starting with, at the time, it was just a 10K, and then it works through all the way up to the Austin Marathon. But I was going into the Decker Challenge, which is the first half marathon of this. And so I went and ran it with some friends, ironically from the East Side Beer Runners. We ended up going out to brunch. When I tell you I marinated in my running clothes, like I was not a pleasant person to be around because I stunk. And I needed to swing by Fleet Feet, and Slim was working, and I was supposed to pick up a shirt from the shop manager at the time, and he wasn't there. But so I picked up the shirt, chatted with Slim, and he felt the need to ask me out on a date, or like our first date later that night. And I tell y'all, again, I have marinated in my running clothes. Okay? I am a hot mess. There is nothing physically attractive about my appearance at this time. But he's like, yeah, do you want to go on a little date later that night? And so that was our first official date.
Nice. I think Slim probably felt comfortable because you were smelly, so you're now the vulnerable one.
It was the comfortable, like what I'm used to. It's just like, yeah, we all smell bad. Like what? This is normal.
Yeah, nothing new for a runner, we all stink, man. I know I stink all the time, but I don't care. I don't care. If someone doesn't want to stand in front of me or talk to me, I'm like, okay, well, you smell too, buddy, so it's okay. That's interesting. That's interesting that y'all met like that. And Slim, how did you not pick up the signals? That's the biggest question.
Yeah, that's just me not being very good. I ain't smooth. I ain't got none of that. No, I remember we were hosting. It was for TRE, so everything in the world was going on.
Yeah.
And like I said, we like the first time we'd ever met, Carly was like, well, my boyfriend. Oh, okay. My bad. And so at that point I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna be respectful, not gonna be weird. And it was also for me, it was a big thing, was like working in the store was like, hey, I want to have fun here, but also you've been to Fleet Feet, Adi, the group.
Yeah.
It's a place that we always want everybody that steps in to be welcome. We always wanted everybody, no matter who they were, to come through the doors and know, hey, this is a space that you can be welcome in.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that guy that creeps somebody out from coming. Right. That was like a big thing. So never wanted to be that, never wanted to make the space uncomfortable for anybody.
Yeah.
I did not pick up any things that she was throwing down though.
I do want to note, I found out from the other guys in the shop a few months after we'd been dating that apparently when I first started showing up to the runs and just hanging out in general, Slim would get scared and go hide in the back room so he didn't have to talk to me.
I gotta do inventory. There's no inventory.
So he would actually hide from me.
So all of a sudden, Slim became the employee of the year because he was doing inventory exactly when you would come in, huh?
Yeah.
That is so funny, man. But Slim, now you guys are married. So everything obviously worked out. You did the right thing, Slim, and you obviously the smell was fine, and that actually kept you. You were a keeper. So it worked out perfectly fine.
I mean, I looked at it as if he finds me attractive at my absolute worst.
Yeah.
Then it can only go up from here. I've set the standard. The bar is low. We've got plenty of room to climb. So it was great for me.
Yeah. No, it's understandable because that's the same way I think when it comes to with me and Alma. I stink and I don't shy away from it. I don't like showering all the time. So sometimes, after a long run, I kind of go mow the grass and do other things. And then I tend to forget that I need to shower. And she's still around. So obviously, she likes me from my worst, So, I'm trying to save water for the kids, That's what I'm saying. I don't have to shower every single time I do a physical activity. If I'm going to be outdoors, just let it stink a little bit more. It's okay. But yeah, Alma is a trooper because she has to deal with this guy here, which is a handful. I'm a handful, unfortunately. So I really expected. I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. I really expected that you were gonna tell me, Carly, that Slim was very cocky, and you probably turned you down because of his cockiness. Because he did say he was a very cocky person.
Okay, so he is. Here's another story then,
Yeah.
which just kind of shows that even though, like, yes, he's super cocky, he's
Yeah.
extremely humble. So I mentioned that when we went on our first date, the next month I ran the second half marathon in this series. And it was 3M half marathon. Now it's the Austin International half. But Slim also ran this race. And he mentioned earlier how he took off some time after college, got back into it. So correct me if I'm wrong, but 3M was kind of your first big race back in the Austin scene, right?
Yeah, that was the first race. Yeah.
So do you want to tell this story, or do you want me to?
Yeah. So 3M comes around, and I want to point, like, at this point, the training had started. I had been back in Austin for a while and had started working out again. And some people had put the bug in my ear of like, hey, maybe you should go run 3M, go run this half marathon. It's downhill.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Working at Fleet Feet, got a free bib, got all hooked up.
I would add one small note. At this point in time, I knew he was a runner, but I did not know what his actual pace was. So I had no idea what level of runner he was.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So we show up, and we go to the race together. It's up there, so we go together. Think we're like, okay, well, I'll see you at the end of the race after it's all and over. I'm going to go to the front of the line. She's like, okay, I'm going to hang out back here in my space. I'm like, okay, cool. I got to front. And yeah, so we take off, and I'm going to say I also got kind of lucky. That year was kind of a low year when it came to the 3M, because it was also a qualifying year for the Olympic trials, held on the same weekend as the Houston Marathon. So a lot of the top guys out of Austin, Will and Rory Fuentes and all those guys were in Houston racing. So the field was pretty open for the 3M half at the time. And so I came away with my first W, my first win in the half marathon. So yeah, it was a good day. And it was again, one of those, we were talking about it earlier. What are those like moments that I felt like I belonged? Yeah. This was a crack in that stone of just being like, maybe I can belong here. It was obviously a big like confidence booster for me at the time. Yeah, probably for too much of a confidence booster actually at the time. Like how things progressed after that.
What year was this?
2019.
Oh my God!
I would always mix it 2019 and 2018. I can't ever remember. Yeah, 2019.
I moved to Austin 2018. That's the only reason I remember that 2019 is when we ran this, because it's in January.
You know January, what? I ran it too in 2019 because I met Alma in 2019, and I did my first half in November of 2018. Yes, and then 3M I did it in 2019. So I was there. That's crazy. That's amazing. And how funny you're telling her, I'm going to go to the front, and she didn't even know your pace, and then you.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
So he wins the race.
Yeah. He
jogs back, I don't know, maybe half a mile or so, and waits for me.
Okay.
I come through. I'm in my own like suffer fest. I remember throwing my water bottle at him because I was carrying a handheld, and I was like, I'm tired of this. Like, please take it. Yeah. And he kind of like ran with me as I sprinted through to the finish. Wow. And I ended up getting a PR in the half marathon. And this is probably only I think my third half marathon ever. 2018, I had also just kind of started getting back into running and like doing distances. I was not a collegiate runner, but I was one of those like fun run people. So I'm super excited. I've just gotten a PR. He's celebrating with me, and we're like hanging out with some other runners, chatting. And since this is a point-to-point race, you have to get on the bus to go back to the start to get, to your car. Well, so we start walking to the buses, and he goes, oh, wait, hold on a second. I need to go get something. And so we walk over to this tent, and he walks up and he goes, hi, I'm Michael Morris. I won the race. I'm supposed to pick up my trophy or something. And I stood there shocked, in silence, staring at him dumbfounded, like, when were you going to tell me this?
And why wasn't that on your Bumble description that you are a 5-minute pacer or whatnot? Because I'll be honest, guys, I got the shaft by Alma once because in my Bumble, because we met in Bumble as well. So we did the same thing. And I put that I was 5'11". I thought I was five. Hey, my driver's license says 5'11", so that's what I thought I was. And I went to get a physical, and it turns out that I'm 5'9". And so she always gives me a hard time. You didn't put that on your Bumble, then you lied to me. I'm like, well, yeah, what do you want me to say? I thought I was 5'11". So why didn't you put that in your Bumble description, Michael, that you are a fast runner?
I had anything like running really related in my like accounts. Maybe like I said, I'd been so disconnected from like running for a while at that point, like in terms of like competitively. So I don't even remember if I did. I don't know, Carly may be able to help me out here, but
I don't even think I read your profile. I just remember swiping and seeing it and being like, oh my God, I know this guy. Like, this was the really cute guy I chatted with, and I swiped right, and nothing happened. And then eventually it still had to go through him. But
yeah.
So I don't know if I even fully read everything. It was more just like, this is the guy I saw, so I'm going to swipe.
That's good photos.
Well, at least it wasn't like one of those random, like quick just writes that you do sometimes. I know a friend of mine did that to me once. He got my phone and he just started swiping right.
Yeah, playing the game, baby. You're setting a high score.
Exactly. Imagine if that was your case, Michael. Like if that she was just bored one day and just.
That's probably more what it was.
I had some standards.
And if I'm not mistaken, if you swipe right, Carly, he has to answer right within a certain time, or because it's been a while.
So at least when we did it, it was once you swipe right, then your profile ends up eventually it'll come across and they choose to swipe right or left. After he swiped right, though, I had to initiate conversation first, and I completely panicked. And I just remember being with a friend. We were getting ready for a Christmas party, and I got the notification, and I remember like screaming from the bathroom as I was getting ready, and she was out in the kitchen getting the wine. I was like, oh my God, this is the guy. We matched. I was telling you about him. What do I say? And she just like filled up my glass of wine. And I was like, I don't know. So I just go, is this weird? Was the first thing I said.
That was the first line. Yeah, it worked. Her photo on my phone is actually still the photo of her that night, because it's like her and you're like Christmas, like you had like the elf hoodie on or something like that. It's still the photo of like her whenever she calls or anything.
And what was your reaction when she finally like answered? What did you think?
I definitely knew it was her. I was like, oh, this is her from the store. This is Carly. I knew who she was. So I was like, yeah.
When you swiped right and we matched though, what happened? Because I know what happened because you told me. But what was your actual reaction?
Oh yeah. So I was actually, because I was still teaching at the time, and at this point I was living very much in a bachelor pad. Like Carly made visits down there. She saw it. It's me and three friends. I'm sitting there and this a random night as a teacher, I'm grading papers and going through and grading my papers. I remember sitting at the kitchen table and got bored. So that's whenever the match happened. And I just remember like jumping up and being like, let's go. Let's go. I was so excited. My roommates were like, what is going on? I was like, we matched. We were all in the same point in our lives at that bachelor pad where we were all playing the same game. And I was like, yes.
Oh my God. I would have been like, what? You're so excited for grading papers? Damn, you must love to be a teacher, man. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's something also between both of y'all. Like you guys are obviously, Carly is the leader of Eastside Beer Runners. How has that how is that important for you guys? Because I know you go a lot, Michael, and how has that impacted the community there in Austin? I know it's impacted me because I met some amazing friends that I've, still friends with. This is the first time I actually had the courage to go up to Michael and ask him a couple questions about a marathon that I was going to run. And I thought, honestly, Michael, I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought you were probably going to be like, no, dude, like I'm not going to tell you anything, and I know you probably wouldn't, but you gotta think about me being a very slow runner. And I'm like, man, I really want to ask him, what do I do when this happens when I run? And Eastside Beer Runners, it happened, I met you for the first time there. I met Carly, at Eastside Beer Runners as well. But how does Eastside Beer Runners for both of y'all has impacted the community and you guys in general? Carly, you first.
Okay, so I want to note that I did not start this club.
No.
I am like the third iteration of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of helped take over during COVID. But at the time, I think it was a little bit of a way to stay connected with the community because, you know, we were in lockdown. You couldn't see anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of something to do and keep my mental sanity and stay connected to the running community. So that way, when we were finally free, it's like, okay, I've at least got one space that I can still join in regularly.
Yeah.
And it's been really crazy to watch it grow and to just like be a part of that. And the Austin running community is one of the first places that really felt like home to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it, you know, getting back into running, joining some run clubs, becoming one of the co-leaders of Eastside Beer Runners.
Yeah.
It's just been kind of interesting to see how I've grown with it and how it's continued to expand. And I mean, like right now we're in the middle of planning for Global Running Day. You know, we're going to host that out of Central Machine Works this year again. And I think this is like the 4th year we've done it. Last year we saw about 1,000 runners show up. And I mean, on a regular Wednesday night for us, we're seeing 100 to 150 runners. And it's amazing because we're getting the regulars and we've got some of the OGs, you know, like yourself that'll still, you know, come through. And that's really great to see. But we're also getting brand new runners and a lot of them are first timers. And, you know, a lot of them come in with the, well, I'm not a runner. And it's like, well, actually, you showed up, you put the spandex on, and you came to a group of like 100 people. Yeah. You're kind of a runner now, whether you want to admit it or not. And so it's just been kind of one of those like humbling and just, I don't know, kind of like heartwarming things to be a part of. And yeah, I don't know. Slim, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what Carly and I joined it around the same time. That was when we had started dating, and you were already going to Eastside Beer Runners and encouraged me to come. And this was whenever we were still at Hops and Grain. And so it was that. I remember going to Hops and Grain, and it was awesome, and it was so much fun at the time. But it was a much smaller group then. COVID happened, and everything shut down. I remember, you know, Carly and I were living together, and we were doing the Zoom Eastside Beer Runner happy hours on Wednesday, so we could keep that going. And then when we came out of it, and it was Carly, Josh, and Andy first initially took over as the co-leaders of the group and started like keeping that ball rolling. And now Carly and Josh have just done such an amazing job of like keeping this group going, making it one of the most inviting groups in Austin. Like everybody is welcome there. It does not matter. Like she said, if it's your first time coming, it's one of the first places I always recommend people if you've never run before, like Eastside Beer Runners and the Morning Joes and Fleet Feet on Friday mornings. Those are the 3 places where I know for sure you will be 100% okay. And like she said, it's just been such an amazing community. And it's so much fun to sit down and talk. And, you know, I have so many friends that are there that I've made through Eastside Beer Runners and through running, but also people that are new when they first come in. I tell everybody, like, hey, I'm not officially a part of Eastside Beer Runners in like a leadership position. All I am is I'm the guy that hands out the beer tickets at the end of the run. Everybody loves me the most. But there are so many people when they come, you know, and I get to know their faces. And I'm like, I don't recognize you. And they're like, oh, it's my first time. And I love getting to talk to those people where it's like my first time. I've never been here and I've never really run before. I didn't know it. And just getting to be a little bit a part of all that is just like, it's the reason why we keep going back. The reason why it's so much fun for us. Like I know for Carly, it's extremely stressful at times where, you know, we're going into Global Running Day. It's going to be 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 people, who knows out there. But she wouldn't keep doing this if it wasn't something that she loved to do. And she wasn't as amazing at it as she is. So it's just, to me, it's just so much fun. It really is going out there. And I run before the group so I can get back and make sure I have beer tickets. And then I always tell everybody, like, I really just want to get back so I can get the first beer. You know, it just makes it a little bit easier.
He doesn't want to have to wait in the line. Like our bartenders are great, but when you've got 100+ people trying to get a beer at the exact same time, sometimes it's nice to be at the front of the line. So
I mean, it's very nice to be able to run, 5-minute miles and you know, I mean, You know, it's nice. You get to get the first beer and then show up and give the tickets to the rest of the slow pokes that have to run. You know, but there's always an advantage, Slim, of running fast. You know.
I always like giving the bartenders a little heads up. Be like, hey guys, we're going to be here in about 10 minutes. And like, you see them take that breath of just like, all right, we're ready.
I like it. You're sacrificing your speed for a good cause to the bartenders.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. I like it. You know, guys, I love what you've been doing, Carly, and I probably had never said this to you, but you're doing a great job. You're a great leader.
Thank you.
I really like what Eastside Beer Runners is doing in the new chapter per se. And I'm also a big time recruiter because now that I'm in Houston, there's a lot of people that have moved to Austin, and they ask me like, what running group should I go? And I always say Eastside Beer Runners, because I loved it and I still do, and I wish I'd still live there, but unfortunately, things change a little bit in life. But I just love the group. I love what you guys are doing. I love that you guys are very open to everybody, and that's amazing because there are some groups that are, very picky about their runners, and that usually can affect a runner's perspective of even running, because if you go to a running group that they're not open to maybe all paces, it shies you away from even trying another group.
Yeah, and I'll admit, so when I was kind of at just like a comfortable pace of like running and like really getting into these groups, I was probably in 9:30 pace range. So not really slow, not super fast, but leaning more towards that average pace. And the amount of clubs that I would show up to and get dropped and left behind at that pace, it really does kind of sour your experience. And so when Eastside Beer Runners started to get a little bigger and we were telling people, hey, we're all faces, we're all paces, we're very welcoming. Part of our format is we do a warm up together. We get to a location, we do the workout in one space. That way everyone's together, and then we do a cool down together.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, Josh was leading the warm up, and I would actually stay at the back, and I would follow the very last runner. And so it didn't matter if, you were 12 minutes in the back or if you were 14 minutes in the back. I stuck with that runner, and if they needed a walking break, I was like, you know what, that's fine. We're going to get there together, because I knew what it was like to be dropped. Yeah. And I didn't want anyone who was trying to get into running to experience that. Yeah. And now we're to the point where we actually have pacers who help us out, and they help keep track of everyone in those little groups. So it gives Josh and I more autonomy to move around freely and kind of spot check, and make sure things are good for the runners. But that's something we've really made a priority, is we're not dropping anyone. And we've even introduced a walking group. So, that's awesome. If you're injured or you're like, I'm not ready to run in front of people, you can come just walk and still get that movement in. So we've really tried to expand and grow on it.
That's awesome. And I have a suggestion, Carly. If ever Slim, gets sent to the doghouse, you should make him be the walk pacer. You should make him be the one.
There before. I've done it.
I can't. No. That would mean subjecting him to my friend Anna, and like, I love her, but like, I don't know if she wants to spend like 20-30 minutes just walking and talking with Slim. Like, that could be a lot for some people.
Yeah,
so
that's punishment for other people. What are you talking about? I'll have a grand old time. Harley knows I ain't never met a stranger.
There you go. There we go. So I think that would be a good test to put, and then we'll record them and see how that comes out. But yeah, I love Eastside Beer Runners. It's very 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 fun group. I actually was able to do it a little bit through Hops and Grains. I'll be honest, I logistically I liked it more at Central Machine Works because me and Alma lived all the way on North Austin, so we lived like closer to Cedar Park. So for us to go from there to Hops and Grain, we sometimes would barely make it before you guys started running, or you guys had just started running, and so it was a little bit of a logistical issue per se. But when you guys moved to Central Machine Works, it was a straight shot for us, so it was much easier. But I still loved it. I loved the vibe that Hops and Grain had, but like a new chapter in a book, you got to start with something new, and I think you guys are doing a great job. I will admit one thing, Carly. There was a running group within a running group for a while at Eastside Beer Runners, because I was the leader for my running group in Apple. And
Yeah.
so Apple is very, very strict with them using the brand. So I couldn't go to like a local bar or something to see if we can do a run group. So the best way I can, have my group do something different than just running around the campus, which gets very boring. I told them, look, guys, we can go as a running group, but we're not a running group. We're joining Eastside Beer Runners, and that way the company can't really get mad and say, hey, why are you doing this? I'm just showing up to a run group, and hey,
Yeah.
there's some of my coworkers that wanted to try out the group too. So that's how I started. I think there's a couple of them that still go, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
for a while. That's how I did it, because it sucks, man. I wanted to do like cool things, and everything would shut down. Like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that. We had even singlets, and now they stopped them too, because apparently we can't use the brand at all. So hopefully Tim Cook is not watching this podcast, by the way, because then I might need a job, Slim, or something, But yeah, I mean, there was a group within a group, but
Yeah.
I never told you, because I didn't want you to get jealous that people started liking my group more than yours. So I kept it
mean,
quiet.
But they're still identifying as Eastside Beer Runners. So I think we take the parent group win there. So I'm gonna let it slide this time.
I'll leave it as you guys are a sister company of my run group, So we'll call it even,
It's a good collaboration.
Yeah, there you go.
Umbrella.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good run collaboration.
Yeah,
Do a lot
yeah.
of those.
Yeah, for sure. But mine was better, by the way. Just saying.
Okay. You say so.
No, you know what, Slim? I do want to take some time, because I know Carly was working on some great questions as a host. I gave her free reign. I told her, you go at it. You ask the questions that you always wanted to know. So if this turns out into a divorce, you can't sue me, Slim, because I'm not getting paid for this. Okay.
We just put all our retirement stuff together. Trust me,
They're still separate accounts, okay?
Okay.
No, I will say I technically know the answers to a lot of these, but I think they're fun things that the listeners will enjoy. And so, we talked a lot about how technically Slim and I met through running and within the running community.
Yeah.
And this topic has come up a few times for us. But Slim, what are your feelings on using run clubs as the new dating apps?
I hate it so much. No, I'm a purist when it comes to running. Show up to run and run. But that was the thing about Carly and I. We met through running, but it wasn't. Neither one of us was seeking the other one out in these instances, right? And I have no problem with somebody meeting somebody organically at a run club, and then hitting it off and that sparking something for them. But the big thing for me is it's what we went back to earlier and talking about Fleet Feet and Eastside Beer Runners. Somebody should be able to show up to a run club and be comfortable there and not feel like there's somebody there or somebody creeping on them. So the idea of like showing up to a run club looking for somebody, I think that can alienate people and make people feel uncomfortable. And I just never want people to feel uncomfortable when they're coming to these group runs or running in general. Carly knows I hate that idea.
I'm with you, Slim, because in one of my current run clubs, there was these two people that kind of met through the run club, and they started dating, and it didn't really work out. And now it's kind of, I call it like when you date someone from a run club, it's kind of like dating someone from work, kind of, because if both of them met at the same run club, who's going to make the decision of not showing up anymore if it doesn't work, And that's really, really tough, and I'm a purist too. I did not meet Alma through running, because I did not know she was a runner until we started dating, and then she invited me to a race. But half of the time, it's probably not the person you're going to marry, right? And you probably mess up someone's, maybe that was someone's way to like have some time for themselves and do something healthy, you know, and then you date somebody and it doesn't work and it's very awkward, you know? So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. What do you think, Carly?
I mean, I think I kind of side with Slim a little bit of if you're going to meet someone at a run club, I do agree it needs to be organic. I mean, so I won't lie, I was actually looking to date another runner because I wanted someone who shared similar hobbies for me. So that was kind of like an extra added bonus for me when I met Slim of, hey, okay, wait, this guy is taller than I am, which by the way, listeners can't tell us. I'm actually like about 5'11". Slim is 6'1". I really wanted to date a taller running guy, which is oddly kind of difficult to come across, or at least it was at the time. But so he was like, he went from like maybe like an 8 to like a 12 because he was a runner and everything else. And I'm like, all right, yes, hello.
I even started at an 8. I'm pretty happy with that.
But I mean, it worked out well, but I also wasn't trying to be a creep. You know, I wanted to get to know him. And so again, it was a nice way to like connect, but I think run clubs should be, if you want to look for someone, I'm not going to discourage it.
Yeah.
But don't be a creep about it. Make friends, find connections. And if it grows from there, great. And I've seen the rise and fall of a lot of different relationships within the running community.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them have like stopped showing up to groups altogether. And I've also seen instances where both of the individuals are like, you know what, we like this group. We're still friends. It's all fine. And so it works out. So
yeah. No, and I get you, and that's where maturity also has to do with it. You know, if two people meet there and it's organically, then it's gonna work out fine. But I think I saw an article about it actually. Now that I think about it, where guys or girls, because it could happen both ways, they literally go into a run group just so they can, you know, find somebody, but not for the right reasons. Let's just say, put it that way, right? And that's where I have a big issue with it, because I don't want it to become like my run group to become a Tinder of running, you know. That's just not why I want to go run, you know, or why I look for somebody to run. Like you guys, that happened organically, or like organically to me is like, hey, I met this person, we became friends, we started talking, we have a lot in common, you know. She helps me be a better runner, I help her to be a better runner, kind of thing, you know, and that's fine. But when someone goes just to, you know, score, basically, let's put it how it is, that's where I don't like it, you know. I don't like it, and it makes it a very awkward thing.
Yeah,
I think that's how we all feel about that. Yeah, to me, it always comes down to people should be welcome and comfortable when they come to run groups, and should not feel pressured in any shape or form.
Yep, I agree.
It's hard enough to show up in a group full of, you know, people you've never met, especially when you're wearing spandex and other tightly fitted clothes for running. So just to come out of that comfort zone, everything else should be warm, welcoming, and inviting. You don't need some weirdo staring at your butt asking for your phone number after the first run. So
don't lie. That's how Slim asked for your number, right?
I don't know. I will say one of my favorite running mantras though is pick a cute butt and follow it. And I have used that for a lot of races of just like, all right, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that. It's like, we got to pivot. We got to move faster, whatever it is. So
yeah, sorry. I had some technical difficulties here. But there we go.
You just went dark mode.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what happened there. No, and I do kind of do that every now and then. Try to follow the most cutest person, you know, but I can never see their face, so I can never follow them. So that's the problem. I'm always behind all the cute ones. So it don't work all the time for me, but at least it works for you, Carly. That's great, you know.
Yeah, it was one of those like running signs I saw during some race, and I was like, I like that. I'm stealing that. And there's just times where you're in a dark space and it's like, all right, I need something to get out of this. So that's one of those. I do want to call out a fun fact. Slim never wanted to date a runner.
Nope.
Wow. Why?
Selfishness. To be honest with you, running was always my thing. It was my safe place, my alone time.
Yeah.
And I really cherished that for a lot of different reasons. So
Yeah.
it was always really hard. And you said it earlier, Rob. For the longest time, I was always on team. So like, if I was dating a runner, I was dating someone on my team, and that was always a no go. Like, you just don't do that. So there was that. But also, like, it was just like running was my thing. I was the runner. And so it was a really selfish thing of me for a long time to say, like, nope, won't do that. I don't want that in my life. I want to have it. And then meeting Carly and getting more involved with the community kind of made me realize, like, wait a minute, not only should I want to share this with somebody and it would be a special thing for us. It's a way for us to connect deeper and to appreciate each other more, but also just being a part of the community. It's something I've learned so much, is that running is, nobody shows up to run and wants to run because that's what they do. Everybody wants to be a part of a community. And so that is what has changed for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You see, Carly, you changed his mind. You didn't ever think that would happen, and look at him. Look at him now. He's a domesticated man, married. That's amazing.
And I mean, this kind of, segues into a couple other questions I've gotten. We actually had another runner friend ask us this recently. What are your thoughts on running with your significant other?
Oh, yeah. Well, we ran together this morning.
It's true, yeah.
We do. And so for there's a couple things for us, right, is one, we'll run together, especially when we're like on vacation or somewhere we're not familiar with, like out of safety. This morning was like running. I didn't want Carly running alone. And we actually got stuck in really bad traffic trying to make the Friday morning group run.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I'm not going to send her off to run by herself. So I'll run with her. I think both of us do a good job though of saying, like, hey, she very much respects me whenever I'm like in marathon training mode, where she knows that, like, hey, I'm running 100+ miles a week and I'm doing my training runs, and there's a very specific purpose to them. And she never tries to like interject on those. I always love that and appreciate that. But like, I'm not really specifically training for anything right now, so it's not a sacrifice. It doesn't change anything. I enjoy going to run with Carly, and for both of us, we have groups and people that we go run with normally. And so like, she doesn't want to invade my time with my friends, and I want to invite her time with her friends. But when the occasion calls for it, we'll go run together and have a good time. She sometimes doesn't, but I do.
That's awesome.
I want to point out our paces are significantly different. So like right now when we run, he, for the most part, lets me take the pace. But in the way that he sits on my shoulder, I always try to be like an extra step ahead. So then I end up pushing the pace because I'm trying to stay ahead of him. So I end up running a lot faster than what's comfortable for me at times. But I mean,
it's a hard balance. I know how she feels, and I don't want to like push her out too far outside of her comfort zone. So I always try to like take that like half step back from her. But I also know she's extremely competitive herself. It's a shared thing between us. So she's always going to try to be half step forward. So it's like, oh, I don't want to, like, it's supposed to be her easy run, but she's pushing herself faster. So I'm going to run a little faster with her, and we're just we're going to keep doing this little dynamic thing here and see what happens.
Our easy paces are probably about 2 minutes in difference too, just to make that clear. Of like, it's not like we're both 6-minute milers. He can easily run 6 minutes relaxed. I'm like 8:45 relaxed right now. And so I'll start pushing into the lower 8s easily with him right now, just because I know it's easy for him, but also that competitive edge of I want to be one more step ahead.
Yeah. And if you look at it this way, Carly, and I was always told this by most of my friends, like, if you want to run faster or get to a faster pace, run with people that are much better than you, because that will definitely help you get there, 100%. Right? And that's what I do. That's what I do myself. Yeah.
Our run this morning, we averaged like 8:20 pace.
Nice.
But our last mile was 8 flat.
Nice. No, that's awesome. That's awesome that you do that, Michael, because I can only imagine that it's, you being used to a pace that you run, if it's easy or if it's fast, slow it down sometimes. I wouldn't say it's gotta be hard, but definitely it's something that you're not always accustomed or used to. So for you to do it, it might work. You might be even working more, to be able to keep that slower pace. And I only say it because I ran with Alma and I paced her for her marathon the two times, and I think you gave her her plan to do it. The first time I was training by myself at my pace, and then on race day I ran it with her, which my marathon pace is around 9:30, 10-minute pace, and hers is like 13 and a half. And I end up getting injured from my quad because it's such a big difference in paces, And so the next time I literally said, you know what, if we're going to do this and we're going to actually, get this marathon, I need to train with you so I can get used to the pace. So with that being said, I'm pretty sure like for you, it is a little bit harder to, go down to the pace and because you're so used to it, right?
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of adjustment, and it took Carly griping at me a few times, telling me to slow down, or her just being like, forget it, just go. And I'm like, oh, okay. It definitely is something that we have trialed and errored before, and it's always nice to be able to help her. But again, for both of us, sometimes it's we like running by ourselves a little bit and kind of getting to be in our own mental headspace is not a bad thing to experience. But like this morning, it was like, like. I don't want her running by herself downtown. It's not always the most safe thing. So I want to be there and make sure that she's, safe and protected. I don't know how much protection I actually offer, but, two are better than one.
Right.
But yeah, so like in running with her, it took me a while to learn how to do it and to do it in a way that's beneficial for her.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back again to like the reason why I didn't want to date a runner, because it was selfish.
Yeah.
And I would, it was for me. And now I realize this is something that I can do for us, and I can be there and support her in a variety of different ways. And that is more important to me now than my own runs in a lot of ways.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I would say some of those like supportive ways. I mean, we both just ran the Cap 10K, and he paced me through that. And I ended up getting a nice little PR, even though I was having a terrible day. But it's just nice to have him right there and just know, okay, I don't actually have to focus on my pace. I just need to focus on where he's at and stay with him. But we've also kind of set that line of a 10K is probably the farthest race we could run together.
Yeah.
Before we would kind of start to get at each other's throats. So we've set our limits.
I'd be fine the whole way through. You would not appreciate me that much.
I'd probably be not a happy person.
But what was your time, Carly?
I think right at 48 minutes or just over 48 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's really good. And congratulations to you too, Michael. You successfully paced your wife. That's awesome.
And I want to note that these small races that he has helped pace me, I have also taken the win in. So I do have a few races where I have run faster than the Michael Morris here. So
she likes to sprint at the very end.
Okay, that's
I have
awesome.
a good kick. Okay, I have a good kick.
I will let her have her moments of glory.
Well, good for you, Carly. Good for you. That's awesome, and good for you for letting her too, Michael. I'm pretty sure you could probably patched her up or something, but you let her. You're a good man, because I probably would not do it.
She'll act like she's dying, and then all of a sudden, 10 meters to the finish line, it's like 3 real quick steps, and I'm like, what the hell just happened here?
That's freaking crazy.
Every runner has their race strategy. This just happens to be part of mine.
Yeah, I like to finish fast. I like someone told me, I don't know who it was, but he told me at the end of the race, you just give it your all, no matter what you have. Just finish strong and finish fast. So that's what I always do. I always save just enough so I can make it and then pass out. Who cares after the race? It doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, I had one more question, and this kind of ties back into that. We support each other through things. We have both run numerous marathons. and I have my thoughts on this,
Okay.
but what do you think is more difficult? Training and running a marathon or watching your significant other train and race and be there to cheer them on?
Oh yeah, we are the same opinion of this. Well, what's more stressful is by far the significant other running a marathon and trying to be there to support them, because you're never quite sure what is the right thing or how to support them, and things like that. I don't know if it's more difficult, but it's definitely the more stressful thing. We've both been through that before, of just like we've learned, we've tried to do the same marathon together and each have our own, like, oh yeah, we're both going to go race, and that just doesn't really work because it just doesn't. So we figured out that, hey, like, we both individually train for our own separate marathons, and then she'll come with me and support me on one marathon, and then it's her turn the next marathon, and we kind of flip back and forth.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot easier and less stressful to be the one running the marathon than the one actually cheering and supporting and trying to be there and be what that person needs. It's oh God, it gives me like heart palpitations just thinking about it.
Well, I can see that because, you there's no way you can help her when she's running. You probably gave her the tools and the training and helped her out with everything to prepare for that day. But once she's running out there, it's just her, so there's nothing you can really do to like do something to help her out. So you're over here thinking, man, is everything going well? Is the weather okay? Is she pacing herself? Is she going too hard? Does she remember what I told her when she gets to this part? And it can get very stressful. When I was actually pacing on my, like, I was stressed out just because being a pacer is not easy.
Not easy, is it?
Not easy at all, because you also have to start thinking, what if I don't make it? What if I start cramping, or what if I get hurt? Like, how am I going to help her if I'm over here dying, And that's when I got injured. I got injured during the race, and I told myself, just don't tell Alma anything, because the moment she finds out that I'm hurt, she's going to now be worried for me. And then now her race strategy just went out the window as well. So maybe it wasn't the best thing for me to do, because it ended up being like an injury that took me out for like almost 2 months. But at the moment, I just couldn't, I couldn't tell her anything. And that was stressful itself, because if she sees me limping, then I'm screwed. She still knows something's wrong. So, I can only imagine trying to, be Michael Morris over here and trying to be like, oh my God, like, is she, I know she went a little slow, like, is something wrong, So I agree with you, Slim. It's stressful to be the one having to watch the other run and go through all those motions, man. It really is. And
Yeah.
how about you, Cardi? Which one do you like?
I would rather run a marathon any day.
Yeah.
I joke sometimes that I'm like a professional marathon wife at this point, because we've been through so many of them. But I mean, he's gone for, the Olympic trials a few times now, and watching him go through the training, understanding the training, from a runner's perspective and point of view as well, to then get to the race and just watch the mile markers, tick by, and watching his pace and knowing, okay, I know the paces he needs to hit. I've done the math. I know what needs to happen. And there was actually, I think when he last ran Indy, one of the trackers glitched. And so I saw one of his teammates, like, they went through the mile marker and Slim didn't. And immediately, like, I was nauseous. Like, I'm having an anxiety attack. I'm like, what happened? He's not on the tracker. I called his coach and I'm like, did you see him go by? Is he okay? Is he hurt? Is he dead somewhere? Like, what happened? Like, I spiraled. And he's like, oh no, he ran by. And he's like, he looked great. He's like, all the guys are together. And I'm like, okay, tracker glitched. We're fine.
Yeah.
And then at the next, like, marker, he came through and he was right on pace for everything. And I was like, okay, we're good. We're fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have watched a lot of his races go really well, and then I've watched them blow up at the last minute, and I'm like screaming at my phone of like, keep going, babe, like, keep going, like, I'm here. And there's nothing you can do but just wait until they get to that finish line. And it's It's so stressful. I won't lie.
What do you think is more stressful? Seeing like like you, that we are non-elite, obviously, go through that, or do you think Slim is much more stressful seeing someone like yourself that you've been in the front of the pack, you've won a race, and what is more what would be more stressful as a spouse, seeing somebody knowing that they're so close to winning a race, and thinking about, hey, anything can happen between now and the end of the race, or like you, Slim, being with your wife. Which one would you guys think would be more stressful if you were like switched around, I guess?
Oh, I mean, I don't think either one is more or less stressful than the other. When it comes down to it, everybody's doing the same thing, right? Everybody's running for a specific like internal goal.
Yeah.
And like winning a race is great, but somebody that's running a 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour marathon trying to meet that goal time. And if you know what they're trying to do, like that stress is exactly the same all the way across the board. Like I will never diminish like somebody that's running trying to run their first marathon ever,
Yeah.
As somebody that's coaching a lot of people now and seeing them go through it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if I'm coaching somebody to a 2:30 marathon or a 6 hour marathon, like their goals are equal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they are trying to accomplish for each other, for themselves, is equal.
Yeah.
And so just watching them go through, when I have athletes that are running and they're racing, I'm on the phone, I'm tracking them wherever they're at, trying to see how they're doing, and, checking their 5K, 10K splits, and just like going through those emotions of just like, okay, are they there? Where are they at? It doesn't matter how fast they're running.
Yeah.
I know how important it is to each individual, and it means that much to each individual. So I don't think your time or your place has anything to do with the level of stress you feel. It's just that this is something that everybody's trying to do and do as best as they can for like an internal challenge for them to like push themselves. And that's the key.
Yeah, for sure. And Slim, correct me if I'm wrong. Your last marathon was Indy, or did you do another one before?
So I did Austin Marathon.
Austin Marathon, yeah, of course.
I did Indy. Indy was the race in November, right, Carly? November?
Yeah,
November. And then I followed that up with Austin in February.
And Indy was the one that you had your PR?
Yeah, Indy was my PR to date. Yeah, couldn't have asked for really much better of a day outside of the car that almost ran me over, but that's a different story.
And it was what, 2:17, right?
Yeah, 2:17:05. Yeah.
That's awesome. And tell me, how did that feel? Because I know you had been trying to get to those times, which in this case, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Slim, that would be a Olympic trial qualifier, right? 2:17.
It would be if the trial qualifier window was open. So the qualifying goal for the 2024 Olympic trials was under 2:18 essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we ran in New York, New Jersey, in October of 23 trying to qualify, and there I missed it by about 15 seconds. And it, like Carly said, that was a day where it was on a loop. So she kept seeing me come across. And I know for a fact it wasn't until the very last loop that I wasn't on pace anymore.
Okay.
And so that was another soul crushing one for me. That one hurt pretty bad to watch the seconds tick by as I was coming down to the final part of it and just know like it's in reach, but I don't think I can reach it.
Yeah.
And then so when we went to Indianapolis, Jeff and I had talked and like said, you know what, we did a lot of really, really good things going into that New Jersey race.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things that we want to tweak, but we don't need to make big, massive changes. We're just going to do a few things here and there that I think I can improve on. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go into this race with the same mentality, same mindset. And it was one that I felt like I got like a softball pitched to me and I was just like lined up ready to knock it out.
Yeah.
And it really, I mean, it came down to just about the best day I could have possibly asked for. And it's just, we talked earlier about like, where these moments that I feel like I reassure myself that I belong, that was a moment right there. Whenever I came across that line, it was very much a moment, placing third, being right there all the way into the last like 2 mile of the race of like being able to win that race.
Yeah.
I finished it. And you know what? I was like, there's more there. This is a reassuring moment of knowing that, like, not only do I belong here, but I can stay and I can keep pushing this. And it gave me an edge to myself that I'm pretty excited about for the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, as a big fan that I am of yours, as you know, Slim, I was tracking you for that race, and just and it reminded me of when Carly swiped right. I literally did that with my phone when I saw you finish 2:17, and Alma was she got scared. She's like, "What the hell? Why are you screaming?" And I was like, "Man," I was like, Slim finally was able to break that time that he's been trying to do. And she's like, really? She then once she found out why I screamed, then she was like, oh, that's so awesome. Like, we were all so excited for you, man, because
Thank you.
you know, we've seen your work, we've seen everything you've done, I love watching all the stuff that you put on, your miles that you put, and to finally see that you hit that 2:17 mark, and knowing that it's not in a Olympic trial season, but I thought the same thing. I was like, man, if this dude hit 2:17, man, when the time opens, he's gonna crush it, because now you know that you can hit that time, and like you said, not only you know how you hit that time, but you know there's still more that you can do to even make it better. You know, so to me personally, man, when I saw that, it was awesome, dude. It was I was like, man, this dude, he is what everyone thinks he is. He just showed that he's that and more, you know. And I'm very proud of you, man. As a friend and a good friend that you are to me now, and because I'm grateful for what you did for Alma as well. That was a really good moment as a fan and as a friend to see you hit that, man. And I always use you as an example to a lot of my friends, because you told me no, you didn't tell me. I read something from, I think, Runner's World. I think you had an article, or I don't know if it's Runner World. I know it was a magazine, and you were talking about you not hitting the time for the time trials. And it helped me, man, because I've been trying to break the 4:30 mark on my marathon. And I know I can, you know, but for some reason or another, something goes wrong. I cramp out, and I was very hard on myself. I was to a point once that I said, you know what, maybe a marathon is not in my books. And I was gonna quit running marathons and just concentrate on the smaller runs. And when I read that article that you said, they asked you, like, what did you go through when you knew that you were so close and you did not hit, and you said that you gave yourself an hour to, like, kind of like digest it and be disappointed, and then after that you moved on, you know. And that, to me, when I read that, that made so much sense, man, because, and that's how I do it in every single race. I give myself some time to analyze and think, what went right, what went wrong, why am I disappointed in what I couldn't hit, and then move on, you know. And that really has helped me out a lot, because I'm still running marathons and I'm still shooting for that sub 4:30, you know. And one thing that I'm very proud of, and you know, it's not my podcast, I'm not being interviewed, but I'm gonna say it. Well, it is my podcast. What am I talking about? Is this Houston marathon. I finally ran a full marathon with no cramping. No cramping at all, man. And that, even though I did not even get close to the goal, and I was so happy. Now I can concentrate on what's next, you know, getting faster, you know. But the cramping has always been the hardest thing for me, man. It was so hard. I'm not gonna lie to you, Slim. I went to Berlin to run the Berlin Marathon. I cramped right at mile 24, man. 24. And
That's worse.
yeah, from 24 to 26, it took me 40 minutes to finish the marathon, dude. It was gut wrenching, and I'm not gonna lie. One thing that happened to me, I was maybe 500 meters, and I could see the finish line. And you know, most marathons, I'm pretty sure every single marathon you've done, once you hit like really close to the finish line, they put like a carpet, you know, and I felt like a shopping cart. Have you ever tried taking a shopping cart out and trying to take it out? It stops. I knew that I was about, like, my wheels were about to fall off. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sprint for whatever I have and assess the damage once I finish, right? Well, I was running And right where the carpet started, I could not move, dude. I literally stopped and could not move. Someone actually came up to me and said, "You need help?" I was like, "No, I just a couple of seconds. I will be able to finish." I finished limping and walking, dude. But it was like a shopping cart, dude. I literally just stopped and could not move. But I did the whole thing as well. I gave myself grace. I said, "Hey, cramping is still an issue, but there's a positive side." It happened at mile 24. Before it would
Yeah.
happen at mile 20, 18, 17, and then it was hell. It was suck fest from there on, you know? And at least I said, you know what? There's something good out of this race. 24 miles, I ran perfectly fine. So it's getting better, you know? And then Houston came up and no cramps, nothing at all. So, you know, I really again want to thank you for that great message that you put, because a lot of us, including myself, beat myself up so much that becomes a mental game. And I'm not even lying to you. I was so close that one day that I ran a marathon and I cramped like at mile like 11 out of everything 11. I told myself maybe I'm just not meant to run marathons. I'm just gonna quit running marathons. Like I should just stop. And then that article came out, like I mentioned to you, and man, it made a big difference, man. So if you only made a difference in one person, you made a difference to me, man, and that's awesome.
I'll take that. Yeah, and that's a lesson I had to learn. I mean, it was something that took me a lot longer than it should have to learn, but I
Yeah.
learned it, and it's something that helped my running and just my personal like growth and journey out a whole lot. Is just like you can't hold on to things forever. We want to focus on the negative. We want to focus on the bad things. That's just like a human nature thing that we do.
Yeah.
For some strange reason, right? It's like an evolutionary thing that we remember bad things. We say that's bad. Don't do that. Don't be around that anymore. And we kind of tend to forget about all the other things, all the positive things that happened out of it. And that took me a long time to kind of figure out and to learn. And once I started like adapting that and using that and just realizing like, for everybody, the journey and the path is a little bit different, and we all go through our own struggles. But at the end, if we just focus on keep moving forward and we keep focusing on the positives, we'll kind of keep pulling things in, and you'll keep chipping away at that stone, and eventually it'll turn into the statue that you want it to be.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And you mentioned your coach. How has Bat City Track Club changed your perspective of your running, and you know, how has it shaped you even to become a much better runner?
Oh, we're so fortunate to have a community here in Austin, like we do, just in general in the running sense and like just the athletic sense. You can't go out without catching a running group.
Yeah.
But having Jeff and Bat City and Mitch and Mike and Richard and now Hoftu and these guys that we train with all the time and every day, it helps you hold yourself accountable, but also like you get to hold them accountable. The number of times I wake up in the morning where I'm just like, I'm not feeling it today, but I know that they're going to be there. So I got to be there. We kind of joke with each other all the time. Like, I got one set better than you today. I got the workout in, whatever it was. Wednesday we had those big like rainstorms come in, and that's normally our day for workout. And one of the guys, posted the video of him doing his workout, and none of us went. I was like, sent a message to the group. I was like, looks like Hop 2 got one set better than us today.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that we hold each other accountable, and I want to be there. I want to be the best. I've always told you this is where that cockiness, that confidence comes out. Is I always want to be the best, and so I've chased Mitch for years, and trying to catch Mitch, and he's running so fast, and now we have the young guy Hoftu. He just ran 2:09. He's
Wow.
one of the fastest marathoners in the country right now.
Wow.
And so it's like, well, I mean, I guess the sub 2:10 is like the next thing. I don't think that's the next thing. It's a little much for me. But I will say it's like seeing Hoftu go through that and like seeing the training that he put in, and know that I'm doing the same thing. I'm running this when it comes to the workouts, the same workouts. We're right there. He's 5 meters in front of me every workout.
Yeah,
gives me a lot of confidence in what I'm doing. It tells me that like what, if I know how extremely talented he is. I know how dedicated he is and how good of a runner he is. I know all those things. I also know I have a lot of that in me. And so it gives me the confidence to say like, what, that the next race, I can have confidence that I can do that too. I can go out there and run and not be afraid of it.
That's awesome. I believe in you too, Michael. I think you have a lot more in the tank that you haven't discovered and you're about to discover. And that 217 says it all, man. That you put the work and you'll get those results, you know. And we all have bad days, and it's okay, like you said, move forward. And I think you're doing exactly what you should be doing at the time, you know. So I have faith in you, and I have faith that hopefully everything works out, and in the next time trials, we'll be cheering you on for sure, man, because it's you're an inspiration to me, to everyone. I'm pretty sure Carly's inspired by you, and it's such a cool feeling to see what you're doing, because in my way it gives me that hope as well that I will hit that sub 430, and who knows, maybe I know I have it in me to hit sub 4 even, you know. So
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely this year for me, for example, I made a huge change in everything because I've lost 25 pounds, you know, and I did it because, you know, although I'm a very active person, I eat very active too. And I'm not talking about healthy. Like, I'll eat everything that's in front of me, even if it's bad. And I cut back on a lot. So I feel much faster. So I know now that I can definitely hit those marks and even faster. Hell, I still have the illusion to be able to qualify to Boston, you know, and I really hope I can, you know. Not that charity is a bad thing, but it has a little bit of a special thing when you hit it through your merits, you know. But it's awesome to hear, you know, you're in a good space, and you know are pushing to hit bigger goals, man, and that's awesome. And by the way, Mitch, I saw that podcast with Mike. Oh my God, it was amazing, dude. It was amazing. I did not know half of the stuff that he said. I did not know, you know, his story until I saw it,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how inspiring he is as well, man. But we're taking way too long of your time. You probably guys are hungry. You guys are probably ready for dinner or watching The Survivor or Bachelor, whatever is on TV. I don't watch TV, so whatever is on TV. We do have a question from our episode 25. Yes, 25. So we'll give them a little bit of time to ask the question, and then of course you, Michael, or you know what, we're gonna throw an audible here because you were surprised by Carly. We're gonna surprise her. You
Oh,
have
no.
the golden ticket to pass it to her. Okay.
Oh,
Kind of like those shows where you can phone a friend, you know. So you have the power. Okay, you can be a gentleman and do it yourself, or you can pass it to her. Okay.
okay.
Alrighty.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
Carly be ready because I think she can answer this question really well though. So I am gonna have her answer it too. I'll answer it, but I am gonna have her. Just yeah.
Awesome.
Oh,
Awesome.
I
okay.
Awesome.
think you'll have a good answer for this.
Okay. Okay.
All
We'll
right.
trust you on this one.
So we'll let him you know, ask the question. All right. Okay, Carter, you weren't here, but we will stay quiet for a bit because in the thing I will have the actual question being asked by the guest.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Michael.
All right. So a gel or like a supplement that I've tried that just did not work out for me. I hate to say it because everybody knows it. It's goo. Goo has never worked for me. And every time I've tried, I was actually an ambassador for them a little bit. It's just too thick and it's too sticky. And every time I try it, it just does not end up well for me. Yeah, I hate to say it and I hate to do it to them, but goo, I found that, you know, BPN works really, really well for me and I can handle it. And I will say one of the most important things for anybody listening is that it's really important to practice with your nutrition and your hydration, like when you're
Yeah.
training, and not only doing it during like the big workouts, but also like doing it in small workouts. So like anytime I know I'm going to run more than like 90 minutes, I'm going to make sure I have 2 gels with me because that's
Yeah.
about how many you're going to need over that time period.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just like training your stomach as much as you're training your body. So
Yeah.
if you've had issues with them before, like try them on training runs and make sure that you're trying them, but also try them when you're running like marathon pace and faster, because a whole different thing goes on in your stomach when you're running hard. Everything kind of flips and turns over.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I've learned. A lot of people will like only take them when they run easy. And then when they try to run really hard with them, that's when they cause the problems.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Carly, I will actually say the question just because I know you weren't here earlier. And
Okay.
Slim put it in a very nice and eloquent way, but I'm going to say it the way our guests did it. So what gel gave you the runs the last time, basically? And he said bonus, which I don't know. Maybe one of you knows what is this, because I've never heard of this. Bonus if it was Hammer. I guess it's a gel called Hammer.
Hammer is a gel brand. Yeah, it's a nutrition brand. So I've never experienced them before.
So just to give you context on that, I guess he tried Hammer and it gave him the runs really bad, and so he thinks that everybody has tried it and has gotten the runs from it, because he said that if they don't say Hammer, more than likely it is, but they're embarrassed to say. But I know Michael would say it if it was.
I've never had them.
If he said Goo was the one and he was an ambassador at some point, I mean, you would have said Hammer for sure. So I know you passed the test on that one. So Carly, what is yours?
So I'm not gonna lie, I have a lot of stomach issues.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually gluten intolerant, so I have to be very specific about like different gels that I try.
Okay.
But I have puked up a lot of different gels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually down to only one brand that hasn't impacted me. But Goo has probably given me the biggest ick. I won't lie. That one I have puked up more times than I can count. I have had severe stomach cramps from it. It just does not sit well with my system.
Mm-hmm.
And even gels that do sit well with me, I think SIS has been one I've had really good luck with. I made the rookie mistake of having only one flavor. And so by the end of my marathon, and I trained with it my entire training block, I knew what it was like to use it at a hard pace, at an easy pace. It sat well. I didn't factor in the amount of them that I would eat of the exact same flavor during one race.
Yeah.
And I actually got to a point in my marathon where I started like having to force feed myself these gels.
Oh, wow.
Because the flavor gave me the ick because I only had one flavor for the whole race. So to Slim's point, trial out different brands, find what works for you, pay attention to the ingredients because there are things that will set you off.
Yeah.
And diversify your flavors because that is going to be a huge thing. And definitely trial your flavors ahead of time. Because I think we've both tried some flavors of gels that we like.
Yeah.
Oh God, no. Poor life decisions.
And I guess, have you tried Hammer?
I haven't tried that one, no.
Okay.
I've tried BPN, I've tried Goo, I've tried Science and Sport. There's, I can't remember the name of it, but it has like chia seeds in it, and it's more like an organic one.
Oh, wow.
That's Huma.
Yeah, Huma.
Okay.
We did the precision for a little bit for you. Yeah. And this is why I wanted Carly to answer it, because I have more of an iron stomach. I can pretty much eat whatever I want and be pretty okay.
Yeah.
She definitely has more GI issues. And so she has had to sample a lot and has had to go through the ringer of finding what works. And I think that's the biggest key is like, try as many as you can, because like you'll be surprised. There's a lot of different flavors, a lot of different textures. One will sit and work for you.
Yeah, and I've even done, the chews of different brands like Honey Stinger. That one has destroyed my stomach in the past. And I've even done like gummy bears and candy. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to use a gel. You can try other foods. And I even did a stint of trail racing prior to finding out I was gluten intolerant. And I was eating beef jerky and animal crackers. So, I mean, there's so many different combinations. You just need to find what works for your stomach.
Yeah. One go-to for me is I tried it from someone that told me is Pop-Tarts. I actually eat Pop-Tarts while I'm running. and my long runs and my marathons. I pop them in and eat them, and it does so good. Like I don't know if it's the salty sweet flavor or
Yeah,
whatnot, but
100%.
it's
It's exactly what your body needs. It's salt and sugars, and that's what you're trying to get in. And it's interesting finding people that like, yeah, I do this specific thing, and that's what works for them. So sometimes you got to think outside the box a little bit, and then find out what works.
Weirdly enough, before most of my runs, Trader Joe's makes a gluten-free mandolin cookie, and I eat one of those before almost every run.
Nice.
And if I'm doing something like a marathon, I'll probably eat 2 of them just to have a little bit more in my stomach. But it's one of those things that I have trialed, and for a little bit they discontinued them from our store, and I went through this whole panic of having to go through all these different like gluten-free granola bars and cookies, because there's just so many foods that I can't eat that so many runners, live off of. So it's, you have to trial and error it. And if you're going to do a long run with a brand new gel, make sure you know where the bathrooms are just in case. Like I said, I'm, I guess, lucky in the sense that I puke it back up. It doesn't come out the other end. So I don't need the bathroom always. But
well, that's good, man. That's good. And I will answer the question just because I think it's fair. I think the one that's given me really bad runs is Honey Stinger, actually. And I was an ambassador for them too, but it's just does not work for me anymore. It used to work, but for some reason it didn't. And like I was telling Slim before we started recording, it now went to a point where it not even settles, but I don't even feel the effect of what it's supposed to do, which is the whole point. You're taking these things because if you're not running, why the hell are you taking gels to begin with, right? So there's no other reason for you to take these damn things if it's not running, or I guess if you're trying to stay awake for some reason, I don't know, but that one is not. And I have not tried Hammer. Like I said, I didn't even know what Hammer was. I really thought he was saying, when are you going to drop the hammer or something, making a joke, but apparently now I know there is a gel. So that's a weird name for a gel. That just doesn't sound right, but we're already here at the end of the podcast. Michael, do you have a question for the next guest?
Yeah, I had to think about this one for a while after you thank you for giving me a heads up, because I would not have figured it out. So it had nothing to do with running.
Okay.
But it was an interview question I was asked one time. I was like, man, that is such a damn good question.
Nice.
It caught me off guard. I was asked in an interview. So I always like to ask this to people. If you were a kitchen utensil, what utensil would you describe yourself as and why?
I like it.
There's a lot. There's a lot of fun answers if you get a chance to think about it.
I actually have a funny question that I always like to ask random people. And when I tell you random people, I'll ask random people, like people I don't even know. I always ask them, what is your third favorite lizard? Everyone thinks about first your favorite, but no one thinks about your third. So yeah, people will stop and look at me.
I know 3 types of lizards off the top of my head.
But yeah, I always like to ask that question to people, like, and you know what? I always used to do it when I felt socially awkward, because believe it or not, I'm not this sociable all the time. That's something that Alma has helped me out. So sometimes I would say, just because I knew that would probably get him away and be like, oh, this guy's weird, let me leave, so so it started like that. But now I do it just to be random, and yeah, you also get the most weirdest answers, or you don't get an answer because they're like, oh, that's funny, I've never thought about my third favorite. And it could be about anything. You could say, what's your third favorite detergent? What's your third favorite pizza? And yeah, you'll never get a right answer, because no one really thinks about that. All they think is about the one thing they like, So yeah, that's a good question, and I'm pretty sure my next guest will love it. And just a little quick thing that I wanted to throw out there also, but at the end. What is, for both of y'all actually, so what is the most Austin thing you've done after your post run, or done post run? Sorry.
Carly, I'll let you go.
No, say you I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. If you've got
Oh, I think it's very easy. It's getting in Barking Creek. It's you finish your long run, especially now that it's starting to get hotter and more humid. You finish it and you go over to Barton Springs or Deep Eddy, and you just sit in the water, man. And you just hang out, and I think that is the epitome of Austin running right there in the summertime.
I miss that place, man. I definitely miss that place.
You have to follow it with breakfast tacos.
Where?
Oh, I'm picky. I hate on like most places. So
yeah. I think our place is the taco joint on Riverside. That's the one
yes.
We like the taco joint on Riverside. Best bang for your buck tacos. It's good. It's fast. It hits the spot. And also, you're not paying $8, $10 for a breakfast taco.
No, for sure. And a Coke definitely would go good after that, for sure.
I am probably guilty of that the most, is breakfast taco, Mexican Coke, greatest thing after a long run.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It hits.
Yeah.
Carly and I have a pretty solid, we do it pretty much every long run now. We'll go on our own long runs. We meet back. And then afterwards, she orders Juice Land, because we have one up here by the house.
Yeah.
And then we get our breakfast tacos and Coke from Taco Joint. We pick up Juice Land. We go home.
That's I miss Taco Joint. I used to pace for the Austin, what's it called? Austin Fit. They start right next to it, and so we end there, and we would all go eat Taco Joint. So yeah, I miss it. I miss a lot of things in Austin other than the running community. The food is pretty good. Don't get me wrong, Houston has amazing food, but I don't know, something about the food over there in Austin still, I love it, man. But last question. And it has to do with your name. Where did that come from? I think I already know that question because you've told me before. I know the answer, sorry. But for the guests, where did Super Duper Slim come from?
Oh, Super Duper Slim, that would just, growing up playing like Mario and stuff like that, so there's like Super Duper Koopa and like that character. The Slim part, that is an old college thing that I got my freshman year in college in 2008. And it was one of those things, you're just with the guys, we spent, 20 out of 24 hours a day together. It's pretty much, just running together, going to eat and everything like that. And I tell people it actually always started, it was actually Country Boy, because I had coming from Northeast Texas, I had a pretty solid, thick accent that I've grown out of kind of since then.
A little bit, yeah. I can still see it.
One of the guys one day just tagged on Slim, who was like Country Boy Slim. And then not too long after that, the Country Boy got dropped and it was just Slim. And from, that moment forward, I was Slim, and there was no going back from it. There is no going back from it. I'll be Slim until the day I die.
Then the biggest question, I guess, follow up to that, do like your siblings and parents call you Slim, or they call you Michael?
They mostly call me Michael or Mikey. My mom has used it before, though. It has been said before in my family, and I'm like, that's when a nickname has really caught fire. No, I'm still Uncle Mikey or Michael in my family for the most part, but they all know that, like, I go by Slim. They know that is the name.
Okay, and
my dad calls him Slim.
Yeah, her whole family just calls me Slim.
So I think if your father ever calls him Michael, he must be in trouble.
Oh, that's how I know I'm in trouble.
I call him Slim unless I'm pissed or if I can't get his attention, and then it's Michael.
Whoa.
Yeah, very much.
And then I'm guessing if she says Michael Morris, the whole name, then you're definitely in trouble.
Oh no, it's Michael Ray. She hits the middle name.
Ooh.
The middle name.
Oh my God. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. If you ever need a place to crash, you can come to Houston, and we got you all set up over here, man. Don't worry.
I appreciate that.
We boys have to stick together, Carly. Sorry.
I get it. I do.
No, but I appreciate it all your time, both of you. Carly, thank you for being a graceful host. You did a great job.
Thanks for letting me come on.
Of course. I when I thought about bringing Slim, because I wanted to bring him back, I thought, what would be more funny and so cool if I can get Carly to do it with me. And so we had been trying to figure out how to get you, and she's like, you know what, Fridays should work for both of us. And that's why I was kind of like getting you to say Friday when I was messaging you, Michael, because I wanted to work this way. So it worked out perfectly. Thank you very much, Carly and Michael. Thank you very much. I know you said you didn't have anything planned on, but anything in the future or any races maybe that you're thinking of doing?
I will be racing in the Chicago ADP or Pro Field actually this year, so that will be in October. That's the only thing I'm going to focus on for a while.
You know what? Talking about Chicago just popped up in my head before we leave. Why don't you run any major marathons?
They're hard to get into. I mean, just like qualifying for Boston is something I can do. I've always said if I go run Boston, I want to experience Boston. Boston's not a place I want to go race for a lot of reasons. It's just has so much around it, so much heritage to it. But as a person that is at my level, as fast as I am, I'm also kind of like a B-lister. So it's really hard to get into those races, even with my times. And then I'm not gonna lie, they're expensive. Yeah. I mean, not only like you're into the race, but when you come to the travel and hotel and food, they're really, really expensive. So for a lot of them, I can get the competition I need to by going to some of these smaller like regional races. And you know, typically I can get into those a little bit easier. And then also I will say, like with Austin Marathon being in February, a lot of times that's around the same time as some of the other world majors. And I will almost always pick Austin over any world major because Austin is my world and it is the race that I cherish the most. Yeah. And so that's why I also pick Austin a lot of times. And once you run Austin, you're not going to want to run for a couple of months.
Well, talking about Austin, I got bamboozled to pace a good friend of mine, Austin. So we're going to do Austin Marathon for the first time, the full thing. And it's going to be a very, very busy schedule for me because I'm running Houston. That's the one I've been running every year. I want to hit the legacy status for them. And then next month I run Austin. And then 2 months later, I'm running London. So it's going to be a very busy schedule. But I agree with you one thing, Slim. They're damn expensive. I can't believe I paid $300 to run New York. It's ridiculous. You know, it's a beautiful race. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. It's I always tell people it's one of those races you got to do, but it's so damn expensive. It is. I think there should be a law somewhere that says, you know, make these races a little bit cheaper because it's ridiculous how expensive those races are. But hopefully maybe one day I'll see you run Boston, even if it's just, you know, just to run it. Like you said, that'd be awesome, dude, because I think you would enjoy it, and you running hills every day, I'm pretty sure is going to be easy for you to run Boston, I'm sure. But again, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Carly. You know what? I forgot to ask you, Carly, what's on the docket for you?
If I can get some of my GI issues figured out, I think I'm going to make a second appearance at the Every Women's Marathon in November. So I got to run their first iteration of it in Savannah. We crashed and burned, and so I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of a redemption. And they moved it out to Arizona this year, so kind of a favorite state of mine. So hoping it works out. But you know, we'll see what happens. I think to quote Slim over here, 26 miles is a long way for a lot of things to go right and a lot of things to go wrong. So
that's true. That's true. And between us, try to convince Alma to do it so I can run it too. That'd be awesome.
I was there to support Carly last year when she did Savannah, and for their first time putting on that race, they did a great job, and it was really, really cool to see there were men racing, but it was predominantly women, and to see them just dominate that start line, it was really cool to see them go out there and see the community and the camaraderie between them, and just being there to spectate them. It was a lot of fun for me just to be there.
Yeah, or convince her to do it. You know, I don't have to race it, because it is really cool to see an all women race like that. I think that's really really cool.
I'll start dropping some hints to her. But also, when you come out to Austin, drop her off at Central Machine Works. We're like mile 23 on the course. Eastside Beer Runners has an official party zone cheer station. So drop her off with me, and I'll take care of her during the race too.
Okay. She better not be drunk by the time I get there.
No promises.
Okay, I guess. By
Got
the
the
way,
keg going.
yeah, by the way, this I'm gonna train so hard this year so I can actually run 1 mile at Slim's pace when he takes off. I'm gonna that's the goal. I'm gonna be like that one guy, I think it was in the London Marathon where he sprinted in front of the elites
Yeah.
and then they eventually caught up to him. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that just so I can prove I'm faster than Slim for 10 seconds.
I'll be looking out for you.
All righty, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and you all have a good night. And thank you very much for being guests for sure. And thank you, Carly, for being a host as well. Okay.
Yeah, not a problem.
All righty, guys. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, no problem.